Hello, everyone.
Hey everyone, welcome to
Welcome.
the third episode already.
The third one, yeah. And we're very excited to do this third one. And we're choosing topics of discussion that interest us and that show up in the moment because they contain the most fiery energy in terms of what wants to um, what wants to be spoken, what wants to be
Expressed.
once
Yeah.
it's back. What wants to be spoken, what wants to be said, what wants to be mentioned, and what wants to come through that needs to be discussed in the context of our ongoing casual conversations, but also I think would be beneficial to those of you listening that are interested in these things, these topics that we share about. So that's what I have to say about that as an introduction today. Now, if I shape this call, this 30 to 35-minute conversation, I would say that there's been a theme for me that I'm going to invite you, Marlu, to help me navigate speaking my truth around.
Mm-hmm.
It's been very difficult and painful for me, for the most part, um, in being with, especially being with alone, because that's what it feels like, but also feeling disappointed around. And that theme is, or the topic rather, is around awakening, but also specifically around what it means for me when I see awakening happening, or rather not happening around me as well. And
Mm.
having both of us,
Yeah.
you wanted to share
The
something?
disappointments also that arise. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think this is a really good topic because I guess it's important. And I think in the audience, I can sense that there are a lot of people that feel let down and in a way excluded from this, like this spiritual movement around awakening. And a lot of people don't get what they think expected they could get out of it. So if we address it, we can like put the group a bit more in the forefront that has been like excluded and felt in the dark around this topic.
Yeah, very, very well said. I agree. And there's so much to share potentially. This could go on for hours, days, weeks. So I'm just trying to confine it all to bite-sized pieces of information that are clear. But I would say that, to begin, I would say that many people enter the spiritual growth realm because they feel dissatisfied with life, or they have I think for the most part, they do that because they have such struggles with life, such problems, illnesses, situations, events that happen to them, that they are forced to move into believing in something higher that will help them when they feel incapable of helping themselves. This was also my case through
Yeah.
illness. It initiated me into the direction out of, let's say, the realm of only the mind, the ego, and just the material life as an intellectual being, into the realm of wanting to heal, and then later on discovering wanting to grow and live a more healthy lifestyle that reflects healing. And
Yeah.
that's how it pushed me. For you, I think that may be something similar, Marlu. Maybe you want to share how it happened for you also.
Yeah, it's for me, it's the same around health that pushed me physical and mental health that pushed me into onto the alternative path. And because the normal way wasn't working out for me, and it forced me to go and find another way. Yeah. And I think a lot of people get on to the spiritual path from like when you're really like desperate to find a solution, and you have tried a lot of things, and you go from doctor to another doctor, and then it seems it never ends, and then you think like, oh, let's try. You're desperate to try anything, so you're a bit forced to like go to healers and stuff, and then this is the whole like not the normal path, and there's a lot of I experience a lot of judgments and a lot of like assumptions around the other path, and it was like difficult to like feel your own, to go your own way and to find your own way with at least how I grew up. There was a lot of like, you better not go on that path because it's not trustworthy or whatever, it's
and for me, I always like to reduce things. I like to reduce abstraction and complicated sort of never-ending concepts to something practical and tangible and physical, because it's very difficult also for me particularly to work with something that isn't visible, isn't tangible, but you need to believe it and hope for the best. That's the spiritual journey in a nutshell. And on the one hand, that offers great power, but it also offers, I would say, a lot of deception, that you get told things that are totally not necessarily true. And you can't prove them either way. So you start to,
and like I think gray area.
It's a gray area, and that gray area is very difficult to share at the different levels of consciousness, of the different levels of awareness as you grow. Very becomes also that line changes to where something once may have been true, all of a sudden is no longer true. So also the line changes, but also it's also dependent on your personal perspectives and experience. But ultimately, I would say that there is a path for people to awaken. But if I were to speak for myself, I would say that I think that most of humanity is not really ready to awaken and is not going to go on the journey of awakening. And that's contrary to what many people, hopefully, like in a hopeful sense, wish to impart to people, is this message that humanity is on this great track of awakening, and we're all going to become blissful, and it's all going to get better and everything. And we're going from this 3D to this 5D perspective, and all of these different types of perspectives. In the bigger picture, there is that movement. And so I'm contradicting myself in many ways when I share this. But at the same time, there is a timeline, a linear timeline, in which I don't see this happening anytime soon. And I think, and I know things will escalate and the pressure will increase for humanity to move forward. I believe that, and that is happening. But I just don't think things really change fundamentally so much. Fundamentally, we are eternal spirit, infinite, timeless beings. That's the foundation of who we are. We're living an incarnation on Earth. And in the timeline that we have,
it's difficult. The
it's
time.
difficult.
There's a lot of.
I just don't see most of humanity do it. I don't see them on even the path to begin to see that it's even a reality that they want to begin seeing.
I
It's
think,
just,
yeah, I think there's a lot
yeah,
of misinformation around being told like, oh, we're on this awakening path, but
yeah.
nobody really can have an answer on when, and when is there a certain level shift that happens, and when in time. And I see this awakening for humanity more as different levels of expansion we need to work
Mhm,
through, and
mhm.
we cannot bypass. Uh, uh, we cannot bypass. We all need to go to that higher level. We all need to be together. We need to go like this, and it's not. Um, it goes slow, and
Mhm.
with me, it's not like, oh, it's in 5 years, it's done, and everybody is like in a
Yeah,
certain level of consciousness, and then we can like live together in a more harmonious way.
right. And so
It
this is
takes more.
exactly one of those traps within many realms of spirituality where people, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be direct because I want this podcast to be the
Yeah,
truth. And many practitioners thrive their practice, building their practice on giving you that type of false hope
yeah,
that things will shift. And um, there are high level practices that really change, and we will talk about that, the way that you experience life, and that you go to these higher states of resonance where you do experience more and more goodness with less and less, which is the ultimate
mm,
goal. But a lot, if you really look at it from a, some would say, perfectionist standpoint, but I would say
mm,
from a specifically truthful, honest, bottom line standpoint, there is a lot of false promises, broken promises, and false, um, just not truthful advertising. I would say
yeah,
in the conventional realm, we would call that misleading advertising, but that's what it is. But in spiritual realms, when many people just can do whatever they want, and they'll have
yeah.
a
A lot
following of
of
people that will follow
misguidance.
them, and there's
Yeah,
misguidance, and I find that so painful.
yeah,
I find that so disgusting in a way, and I know that also some of these practitioners really believe themselves, and this is why I would say it also becomes narcissistic, because
yeah.
they believe their own truth, that this is what's happening. So you can't even blame them for the fact that they're actually doing something that they believe is true. But that is like a narcissistic relationship. It
It's
becomes very unhealthy.
yeah.
So what would you
It's
say
like
about
this.
that?
There is this fine line, um, because awakening is about your inner awakening, and it's not
Yeah.
about waiting to humanity to be awakened. And
No.
uh, because in your in, you have your individual situation, you're an individual being, and you're experiencing your own awakening, whether you're aware of it or not. It's like rising in frequency, in essence, that is. And um, but as you rise in frequency, you need to let go of the stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
when you seek help or guidance to do that. Um, on the spiritual path, there is a lot of like, um, I don't know. I don't like the concepts of humanity's awakening, and it's all like promises and that kind of stuff. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you get results when you work on yourself and get
Mm-hmm.
the proper help and the proper guidance that for you is important, not
Yeah.
for the whole of
Agreed.
humanity. That's
Yeah.
It's not even an option. You need to
Yeah.
work on yourself and find the best people who can help, so
Yeah.
you can be very efficient on your path, and
Yeah.
don't waste your time, don't waste your money on stuff that doesn't help. And there is a lot of like this is why there is this gray area in like mainstream, you know, medical pieces when you find help. And you know, that's not like you need to be more like kind of surgical for yourself, like this is what I want and this is what is helping. Decisive, yeah.
So this is, you bring up a very important point, which is something I want to make here, which is that when those healers or practitioners or gurus or teachers or whoever you want to follow start talking about how the collective will change, that's an external focus. And that external focus, and then they also make predictions. Well,
yeah,
you have to be for me, there's big red flags around predictions, because nobody can predict the future, because the future isn't set in stone. And everything is a choice in every moment for everyone involved. So the future as it looks now changes now. So possibilities and potentials change now, and so forth. So you can never predict the future.
No,
and
you can be.
And so this is already where I think that when people prize themselves making predictions, big red flag.
Yeah.
And second thing is, when they prize themselves with helping the collective or doing things for humanity out of service, careful, because it isn't about out there, as we've discussed in earlier podcasts. It is about in here. And this is where you make the change. So a good practitioner and teacher helps you at an individual level with, like you were saying, Marlou, your individual stuff. It doesn't attempt to tell you that if out there everything will become magical, that your life is going to automatically become magical. Yes, it is true that the external world is a field in which we live, that we're dependent on, and that determines very much how we experience life. And so I'm not dismissing any of that, but that's not the focus. And often I see, just to add one more point, having done so much healing work and discerning between it, that when practitioners focus on the external, it's when they lack the ability to actually help you as an individual, because it then becomes much easier to speak about bigger collective things than it is about actually helping you with your personal shit. Because ultimately, this path of awakening, if you choose to go on this path, is about becoming the best version of yourself that you can be, including that which you become for everybody else. But it's about yourself. It's not about out there. And so big red flag again. Right?
Yeah, you have to be really aware and open, and don't buy into things, and because I feel there's a lot of guru energy when this topic around like, this is how the world will be. And I can sense whether there's a lot of whenever there's a piece that helps me on a personal level, but often when you talk on this global level, there is this with teachers, there's a lot of like guru energy, you know. Then this path of awakening becomes like a goal on something, and it's not really set in stone. It's about heart opening, and you have to be aware if there's some pieces that you want to get away from, you know, if you want to go away from leave certain aspects of life to think that's better out there, because now we're awakening, and now this is where we need to go. Then it becomes like a kind of like a religion guru type energy. There's a lot of it out there, and then I really like run away.
Run away. Yeah, good points, good points. Yeah, I
Tough
would
to catch.
say
It's really tough to catch because um,
it is.
I've listened to many teachers and healers, and you're going to new levels and new levels, and then you're like and it changes a lot because you have to this path. It is good to like explore, and you're learning, and you want to taste something from this, and you want to taste
Mhm.
something from that, and that's really good to do because you get different flavors of this awakening path, and then you can like take the nuggets out of it what you need, and then you can grow along the way, and you don't have to like yeah, you have to be careful if you like go follow only one strict path, and it's like
Yeah,
really come to your center and feel into yourself what resonates or not. Yeah.
including if you follow one person that tells you that they have the answers. Also, again, in this conversation, big
Yeah.
red flag, because I would say diversify, just like an investment, diversify, never put. I mean, that's not always true. I mean, this is very reduced to black and white, but in general, always keep an open mind to other perspectives. But at the same time, I would say, if I give an example, a bit deeper example, so that I mean, this is awakening is very difficult to explain to people because it's a resonance that you must grow more into. So it's experiential. It is not really something that you can teach through words, but I can do my best to describe an example of how people that begin considering spirituality and are on that, even many people that are advanced, so-called advanced people on that journey of spirit, let's say spirituality as a general rule, they would, for example, around the topic of forgiveness, the idea of using certain modalities to forgive, right? I would say that's the earthly piece, the tip of the iceberg often. Um, because you can only truly, at the deepest level, for example, in this example,
Mm.
forgive someone and release and let go when you go to a higher resonance level beyond the pain that you've suffered
Mm-hmm.
that requires you to forgive. And then that baggage of pain can be let go from a higher level
Mm-hmm.
because the weight of the baggage will get heavier as you raise your level of consciousness, and you'll find it easier to have the intention and the will to say, now I release this baggage. I no longer need to carry this with me. And that frequency raising piece that I'm referring to, I would call awakening. And it doesn't, when people say you'll never get there and all that, in a way it's true. And but it's not, also it's not an excuse not to start the journey of really finding people that help you to a higher level of resonance. And I would say many modalities at the horizontal level work at a level of consciousness that's either becoming outdated, especially if they're older modalities,
Mm-hmm.
and you just don't, at the lower levels of frequency resonance, you just, when you go to a more awake level, which we automatically all are as
Mm-hmm.
time is increasing, efficiency is increasing, and we're moving forward, and there's a rapid movement of consciousness moving forward in a way, the old doesn't fit anymore, it doesn't work. And so they're only these modalities, all of these modalities, I don't want to name anything specific and out focus on that, but things like Reiki, Honopono, and you name it, certain meditative practices and shamanism and everything. It's all great, but it's a small piece of a puzzle, which only really works when you go to these higher resonances. And with that, I also mean that you integrate your, and this may be difficult to understand, but I'll do my best to explain it. But when you integrate your spirit into your physical form more, that
Mm-hmm.
higher infinite knowing that's beyond your conscious mind, etc., when you integrate that fully through that higher resonance state where you raise your consciousness and you embody it,
Mm-hmm.
that's when those modalities can have some effect, because you'll take out of them what they really can do for you, or at least
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to extract what is useful. And at the same time, you will you with less you can do more, which is the definition of abundance and inner richness and completeness and wholeness, and not needing anything external. It means that you become that higher resonance more,
Mm-hmm.
and it nourishes you internally, and you need less from the outside world to feel more abundance that you already are. That is the state that you want to, if I were to suggest
Yeah.
what could be the intention for awakening, that is what you want. And
Mm-hmm.
then you see the external world matters less and less. And if everybody would do this and have that intent and really go for that, we would become rich on the inside, and the external would become a reflection of that,
Mm-hmm.
which is often what is totally
You
misunderstood.
you
This is even in
experience,
spirituality, the creme de la creme, right?
yeah,
It's it's
you
it's not
experience
really
more
done.
richness in the outside world. It's
Yeah.
not, because you're uh, expanding in the richness in yourself. For example, when you go from a depressed state or having trouble with social situations, and you work through it, and you're leaving the baggage
Mm-hmm.
around those pieces. You
Mm-hmm.
resolve it and leave the baggage, and then you can integrate those experiences fully, and then you can experience more richness of yourself, because there's room, literally room in yourself to experience richness, instead of experience always pain. And in social situations you can experience a lot of like frustration and stuff, and when the frustration is gone and you fill up with your spirit connection more, you experience this richness from within more. And then the outside world becomes like more and more this, you're walking in your own field of spirit connection and abundance, and that's
Yeah.
what we're talking about here. If you want to do like awakening properly, and that is go
Yeah.
through the shit, so to speak,
Yeah. Yeah.
to experience more that richness.
Yeah.
And that's why we're like uh keen or disciplined around do the proper work that is working, and um skip a lot of the stuff that is out there that will keep
Mm-hmm.
you only in the same place
Yeah.
and doesn't help you
Exactly.
resolve those pieces, because
Yeah.
that's why we're here.
Yeah. 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 Very well said, Marlu. And I would add to this, as we're slowly coming to an end of the call already, and there's a lot more to share. But for now, I would say that the few things that I want to add to this is that what you said, around at the, let's say, the lower levels of not having merged enough with your higher essence of spirit, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I mean with lower levels, you create more workarounds, or you stuff the baggage more. You think you've resolved it, but actually it's still there. Most of the time you'll find, when you really look at your life patterns, they're still there. They
Yeah.
haven't really changed. And we can talk about what I said before, that ultimately I don't believe anybody really truly changes, because it's your spirit essence that's always there, and it's infinite, and it's never ending, it's perfect, and there is no, so at that level there is no change. But your perspectives on how you experience life change. And that means as you grow, you, like I was saying before, you can do more with less, and you see things differently, experience them differently. That's the growth. And then your focus of energy, like you were saying, Marlu, your spirit essence embodied and living it out, becomes a different experience of life. And that's the part you can change. And I would say that to get there, often we have to really release our identity-based structures, which are a lot of these patterns that we have in life, and our problems and patterns are integrated into our identity so deeply,
The
and they're
suitcases.
ingrained. The
Yeah.
suitcases, they
We
don't want to
carry.
let go.
Yeah.
And so you can only let go when you go to those higher levels, because that's when you force the suitcases, as it were, to open up and release, because you will never do it consciously, because there'll be, well, speaking for myself, and many of you may resonate with that, it's just too painful, too difficult, too scary to open those suitcases
Yeah.
without being forced to have to open them.
Exactly.
That's just the bottom truth of it.
We're built
And
to not open them and like, you know,
yeah,
leave them in the corner. And there's a lot of things and distractions to experience a nice thing. So why why bother opening those suitcases? You know, that's we're like built, but it's like not really helpful.
Yeah, and it's difficult, but this is also why when we release those identities, there is often just such a deep level of emptiness, and our perception of time and experience will shift, and you will no longer feel like you have a hold, a grip of life through your old way of being. And that is a very scary, almost like I would call it a death process space, where you shed so much that you destabilize almost, and you find a new stable point. And these points can get very scary, you know, but this is also what Einstein meant in his declaration when he said things like, you can never find a solution from the perspective of the problem where it was created. Is you need to go to those higher levels in order to see what is no longer working and let it go. So the journey then is the releasing journey to the perfection that you already are. And that goes deeper than people think, is what I'm trying to say here as we closely come to a close. And that soul changing process of death and rebirth, which we've both experienced many, many, many times to a very deep level, is scary. It's incredibly scary. I don't recommend anybody choose to do that, because it's hell. But it does give you the great benefit of coming out on the other end.
Benefit is you don't know what you're going through beforehand. So yeah.
You know, and that's just what is but then what, to summarize this theme, this topic for today, I would say that only 10% of what we're looking for is out there in terms of information and content and modalities and everything, and about 90% is the inner richness that we're describing as your soul going deeper into your body. As you release these patterns, you absorb those higher frequencies more into literally the cell structure of your being, and you radiate that more as light. You become lighter, and that is the journey. And then and I think that's, if you then all these pieces of information start falling into place, and the things that don't work, or in my case, everything that I feel isn't working anymore, disappointing, everything is pain and suffering, and it's all such a struggle and everything, you know, that sort of feeling, that's everything that doesn't work, that needs to be shed. And that's the collective transformation that we are all together on. I just don't know the timeline of it, as we were saying, but that is a process that is happening collectively. We're just ahead of the curve, but the curve is coming there at some point. So that's what I would have to share about this. And that kind of summarizes what awakening for me really is, in contrast to it being, like we said last time, a yoga mat. Sorry to say, but to be discriminative to these people that do yoga, and I keep picking on these people, and eat vegan food, but it's just not the same as what I'm describing. You see, and that is, again, one of those painful frustrations where I feel very alone when I connect to people and they have no clue of what I'm sharing when I'm speaking about this, because they haven't experienced it. And they're still stuck on these levels where they don't see the bigger picture of what is actually going on. You know,
tough. You know, you have to start on the yoga mat, you know, because
good point.
I started
away.
So, and but you
if you keep
realize you need to keep looking further because you still have your suitcases next to you that haven't been resolved. And then you're like forced to go deeper into the path of awakening, and then
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
goes.
And so
I trust that everybody goes like is good at their level, and like you need to go through certain pieces and experience certain things to like go to a new level, and it's not like you can bypass, or that's not happening. You just have to like follow the steps.
yeah. Yeah. And I would say, well,
And
for now,
raise your light within,
yeah,
really become the easiest practice is center yourself in your body, get connected to your body, raise find a practice that helps you raise your inner light, and then you can have more bandwidth of seeing what's going on there in those suitcases, and then you
yeah,
move forward. So
it's a good practical, more feminine approach to explaining, you know, what people can do for themselves. I like that. So it's a good note to end on as this call ends. Thank you very much, all of you, for listening. I hope you found this more fiery conversation, which is what I like, because that's how we grow and change, interesting. And until next time.
until next time.